Well, here we are. 2025 is upon us and we are finally here in the new year. And as promised, the first game I have to talk to you guys about is deathnotekillerwithin. This game is objectively quite enjoyable, despite everyone saying it's just an Among Us clone. But there's so much more to it, and I've had much more fun with this game than I ever had with Among Us. And honestly, I think it's a lot easier to get into than Among Us, and a lot more user-friendly for newer players. And honestly, you can just get in, sink your teeth in, have a good old time, kill some people, and just make some friends. Which, let's face it, that's what gaming's all about, isn't it? Meeting new people, getting some trophies, objectively, if you're like me, but and having a good time with friends. But yes, we are here to talk about this game. I wish I had an Apple right now, so I could just turn around and ask you guys, hey, did you know gods of death like apples? This will mean nothing to you at all if you've never watched the show, but to you out there who've watched the show, you'll get everything that just happened there and know why I wish I had an apple. And I just wish. And if I wasn't on my new diet to try and lose weight, I'd have a bag of potato chips and do that scene as well.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to cheat myself. But anyway, let's focus here on the game. This year, just a quick side note for you guys. This year, I'm still going to try to aim to bring you guys monthly content. It's going to be an important year for me, not just for the channel, but for my health and overall well-being. I'm trying to get ready for a wedding that I'm going to go from one of my best friends in the world.
Oh, friend, football friend. Oh, best friends forever and ever. Oh, friend.
In July. So July, I'm going to have to pre-record something for you guys since I'm pretty much not going to be around for most of the month. But honestly, this is going to be a tough year for me, a challenging year, but hopefully a very fruitful year. I'm glad that you guys are here for part of that journey, at least on the YouTube front. And hey, maybe you'll be able to see from the videos as they progress, the progress on the other side of things. But focusing now on Death Note. Everyone turns around and says that this is a Among Us clone. And a lot of people say to stay away from the game for that very reason. But honestly, the game is worth playing. You can have a lot of fun with new friends and old friends if you've got people who've got the game, which you should have because the game was free on PlayStation Plus a couple of months back for us all to get. Thank you very much, Sony, by the way, for doing that. Nice little day one release. Very much appreciated, because better than buying it, because a lot of people wouldn't buy this. There is a little bit of DLC for the game, but it's all cosmetic. You don't need it. Unless you're a Death Note fan, you may purchase it, like I did, just to be able to get some of the cosmetics to look like Ryuk or iconic characters from the show. The game is still very well supported to this day, and since the time of release, it has come out with one big patch introducing a new map called Toy Town, along with a bunch of new kills, way to kill people as Team Kira, and just another fun way to experience the game. And from what I've been told and from what I've been hearing, another update is in the works which will introduce new character roles and another new map and new varieties of ways to play the game, which will make the game even more difficult and honestly a little bit more challenging for even the most experienced of players, and honestly so much more fun. Now, how this video is going to work fundamentally is we're going to talk a little bit about the game and where it comes from and the anime itself, without giving out too many spoilers in case you want to actually watch the show for yourself. We're then going to go into my overall thoughts on the game, just a high level, and then we're going to talk about the actual trophy list. I'm going to have on screen the trophies and go through them with you guys and tell you which ones were a little bit more difficult to get and the easier ones to obtain, and overall just show you what the trophy list consists of. After that, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the mechanics of the game and my overall experience with it. And hopefully by the end of this video, I will be able to at least answer for myself and hopefully convince you guys to be able to answer the new coveted question on the channel. Play it, boost it, leave it. One of those three options will be what you decide for this game. And hopefully, by the time we're finished, it'll be the first one. Play it, as in go for the plat without boosting it. But anyway, let's move on to talking about the game fundamentally. So overall, the game is made for anime lovers. It's another one of those anime games that you'll appreciate so much more than if you've actually watched the show. The trophy list itself and overall the game fundamentally is designed for fans and lovers of the Death Note anime. I would highly recommend going out and watching it before you play the game, or even if you've played the game a little bit and you're interested, go and watch the show. It's one of those older animes back from the days of like the early Dragon Ball Z's and things like that. So a lot of the people from my generation will obviously know it, but newer generations have been starting to watch it, especially because of part of this game. Now let's move on to talk about some of the fundamentals of the game and overall my thought process on it. So the game is obviously made for fans of the Death Note anime, but anyone can play it and enjoy it at the same time. I would highly recommend that you go out and watch the Death Note anime. It's one of those older ones that came from the younger generations, especially from my earlier generations, and it's probably not suitable for the more younger audiences, i.e. it's called Death Note. It's about killing people. There's a lot of stuff in there that I wouldn't introduce to younger audiences, but definitely, like, if you've never watched it before, if you've heard the name and always been curious about it, or if you're just a general fan of anime, give it a watch. It's one of those old classics that people love to go back and keep watching, and so many people talk about it even to this day. Before this game came out, even people talked about it, and I always wondered what a Death Note video game would look like. I didn't think it would be like this one, like similar to Among Us, but honestly, I can't complain. I do really enjoy this. And I'm just the simp for like RPGs. I just want everything to be an RPG. I'm sorry. I'm probably wrong. There's so many of you out there that hate RPGs. I'm probably sick of the normal RPGs that come out for anime games. But what can I say? I love them. I just want more. I can't help it. I apologize. But Death Note is about a character, fundamentally, called Light Yagami. One day he sees a black notebook dropping from the sky, and when he goes and picks it up, he finds out it's something called a Death Note. Upon reading the Death Note, he sees that there's some rules and fundamentals to how it works. How if you write somebody's name in the Death Note, they will die from a heart attack. However, if you write a little bit more detailed about who they are and what way they'll die, they will subsequently die in that fashion at the time that you specify it.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Light, of course, is one of those intelligent, like handsome, popular boy kind of characters in the anime. All the girls love him. He's very smart. He comes from a good family, and he's like on his way to being one of the most intelligent human beings in his world. But when he sees this, he obviously writes it off as some sort of prank. But one day he comes across someone doing something a little bit questionable and harassing a female in the show. A side female, but still. He sees a random NPC, as some would call them, harassing another random NPC. He decides why not and writes the name in the book because he knows the name of the person after his friends shouted out his name. Lo and behold, he said that he would get hit by a truck because he was on a bike. And what happened? That exact same thing. The guy ended up getting killed in the exact same fashion that Light wrote in the book. And that, yes, you could say I'm giving you spoilers, but like this is literally the first episode or two, and it's important to getting the understanding of why this game works the way it does and what the show is. After successfully using the Death Note, he comes back completely unsure of what he just done. He is, after all, the son of the big police chief in the city. So he essentially broke the law, and he's someone who wants to be just like his father whenever he grows up and take justice to the world and help clean up the streets, as some would say. So obviously using such a thing makes him a criminal in his eyes partially, but that is when he meets another world entity known as a Shinigami, or God of Death, named Ryuk. Ryuk explains how the Death Note works and explains that now that he's used it, he is bound to him. And at the end of the day, one of these days, when Light dies, it will be him that writes his name in the notebook. to make sure that the user of such an item goes down by the hands of its creators. Now there's little bits and pieces of there that might be wrong and might be a little bit inconsistent, but I'm just throwing out a little bit of bait for you guys to just go and watch the show yourself and honestly just have a good time with it. But as the show progresses, Light becomes a little bit more obsessed with this power he's got and goes to calling himself Kira, the god of the new world, and he aims to create a world where he is a god and everyone follows his rules, and criminals and all the bad people in the world will be sentenced to death by Kira. This brings another character into the mix called L, a famous detective who vows to imprison everyone and bring them to justice whenever he labels them a criminal. And to L, Kira is one of the biggest serial killers and biggest criminals the world has ever seen. Who will win the fight between Kira and L? You'll just have to watch the show and find out, or you can do it your own way and play the game. So, moving into the game, you will be sorted into one of two teams. Team Kira, Team L. Team Kira has two people, Kira himself and his accomplice. The accomplice's job is to go around and take IDs from the various investigators on Team L. He or she will hand those IDs over to Kira, and Kira will be able to kill them using the death note. On the normal mechanics, you are restricted to doing this twice a day within the game. This is just to make sure that it's a little bit fairer, because if you have a really bad team of investigators, you could end the game very quickly. You can, of course, change this within the in-game settings, but a lot of people tend to keep it to just being able to do it twice a day, unless they're boosting. But like I said, I'm trying to convince you guys not to boost this game. If you play it, I want you to play it and plot it properly, because honestly, you'll have a lot of fun. Hopefully, like I did. But if you're on Team L, it is consistent of L himself, the big bad. Some would say big bad. I'm Team Kira all the way. Even in the show, I was Team Kira. So L is the big bad to me. I'm sure a lot of people watching this right now are making a lot of judgments about me at this very moment from what I just said.
Dear God, he's gone mad with power. Someone needs to save this man from himself.
But I digress. L and his investigators, their job is to, well, investigate, as it says. They're going to try to find out who Kira is and who his accomplice is, and try to put him away behind bars for good, and to confiscate the death note from him. I will go more into the fundamentals of how all this stuff works later on in the video, as promised. But first, I think it's time for us to take a little bit of a look at what's in store for you guys with the trophy list. So, here we go. Right, so here we are at the trophy list for Death Note Killer Within. So obviously you can see the platinum is just simply called Death Note. It's sitting at an ultra rare rating at the moment on PlayStation. The last time I checked on PSNP, it was sitting at a early 5%er, so it's just over the cusp of that ultra rare platinum. But it was ultra rare for quite a long time. But anyway, let's quickly go through the trophies here. So I'm not going to go over every single one of these, just going to batch them sort of together, give you an idea of what you have to work with here. So these gold ones here are the ones that you'll be spending a lot of time with. These are the ones that'll be the most time consuming and will honestly be the thing that might take your platinum a lot longer, and they're usually the things that make people want to boost. I'll draw special attention here to the likes of Become the God of the New World and I Will Become Your Eyes. These ones in particular, you'll be spending a lot of time doing them. One of them requires you to win 20 times as part of Team Kira. I say that this is going to take a long time because, as I'll mention more later on when I'm talking about the ins and outs of the game, everybody wants to be on Team Kira. So the chances of you actually getting on there, even if you've got role select on, is quite slim, unless you're boosting. But again, the aim here is to convince you guys not to boost this and give it a fair chance. I'll Become Your Eyes was one of the last trophies I earned for passing IDs to allies 50 times. This is quite difficult fundamentally within the game because again, you need to be on Team Kira to do that, and you need to specifically be having the role of the Kira's assistant. You can pass over IDs as Kira, but if you're doing that, you're essentially boosting, because there's no reason to do that. If you've got IDs as Kira, you should be killing someone as quickly as humanly possible, unless you've been caught, in which case then you might pass those IDs over. But a lot of these, as you can see, require you to do specific actions 100 times, such as judging people with the Death Note or judging criminals. And on that note, exactly as planned, will probably be one of the last trophies you get, one of those goldies at judging 100 players with the Death Note. This will take you a long time, considering unless you're getting perfect games, you're going to be waiting a while for this one. Moving on to the silvers here, a lot of these are what's leading you up to that magic 100 number to get those golds. So there's nothing overly special here that I'm going to put too much attention on, because again, a lot of these, as you can see as I'm scrolling down through them here, they're just leading up to those gold trophies. And the bronzes here, as you can see, are again some specific situations. The first instance of you winning matches as Team L and Team Kira with the You Are Kira bronze, and the One Step Closer to the New World bronze. Moving further down, you can see again doing specific tasks. There's some very specific actions, such as the trophy L Do You Know, for judging all criminals for a single day. This one's a little bit harder to get despite it being a bronze, because unless you're just going to essentially give up your location by just standing there and judging everyone right there and then and essentially throwing the game, it's harder to do this if you're trying to play the game strategically, which you should be doing, mind you. Now, I want to bring special attention to what you should be the first trophy that you earn within this game: how to use it, completing the full tutorial within Death Note. Now this sounds so obvious for people to do, and some people like to skip the tutorials, but the Death Note Killer Within community is quite aggressive when it comes to people coming in and not knowing the fundamentals of the game. One of the first questions you'll be asked as a newbie player is if you've got the tutorial done, and they will check your list. And if you don't have this, they're more likely to kick you out of the lobby than they are to let you play it. And that's just because a lot of people take this game extremely seriously. Sometimes a little bit too seriously, but I digress. Please make sure this is your first trophy whenever you're getting started on your journey. You'll enjoy the games a little bit more as well. Now, there are 2 more trophies here that I really want to bring your attention to, as towards the end of the list here. We've got Let's See You Talk Your Way Out of This and The Legend of Kira the Savior. Win a match by reaching max investigation progress, or win a match by reaching max New World progress. This is the 2 trophies that everyone in every forum says you have to boost, because players are getting so good these days that they're able to detect who L is or who Kira is relatively early and end those games very early. But I'm going to tell you right now, if anyone tells you you need to boost this, they are telling you falsehoods. I lost count of the amount of times I've obtained both of these trophies in my long experience of playing this game. It will happen naturally. Just let it happen. The better you get at the game, the more chance you have of obtaining these trophies. It's a matter of when, not a matter of if. And that's pretty much it. Those are the trophies. As you can see, the last trophy on the list, that's one that particularly annoyed me. I might be Kira. It was one of the last ones I got before the platinum. Get arrested after handing off a Death Note. Again, I'll explain some more of the fundamentals of the game later and how it works, but if you are Kira's assistant, or if you're Kira and you think that you've been caught or made, you can hand off the Death Note to your partner. But one of the big problems with this is getting arrested for that, if they suss you, is very difficult unless the players are completely incompetent, because they're going to know you've likely handed off that book, and unless they don't have any other suspects, they are not going to arrest you. They're just going to watch you. So this one's very much a luck-based trophy, even though it's only a bronzer. But hey, the list isn't that difficult, guys, and I know the temptation is there to boost it. If I can do it, and well, people say I have the patience of a god, but if I can do it, anyone can. Just give it a chance. Now let's move on to talking a bit more in depth about the game, my experience, and overall whether I think you should boost it, plat it yourself, or just drop this game. Before I move on here to the next stage of the video, I did want to say that as you may have noticed while I was scrolling through the list there, if you're a fan of Death Note, if you've watched the show, if you've watched the anime, there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of lovely quotes and Easter eggs to the show in there, and I have to give credit to the developers of this game and this trophy list. They really did justice to the fans and made it a perfect love letter for any fan that knows the show. If you don't know the show, then again, I encourage you to give it a watch, because some of these trophy list names will absolutely rock your world and make you feel so much nostalgia. Now, let's move on to the next stage. Now that we've looked at the trophy list, we can talk a little bit more about the mechanics of the game and my overall experience with it. So, like I mentioned earlier on, you're split into one of two teams, Kira or Team L. On Team Kira, which is one of the most coveted teams, everyone wants to be on it, obviously, because everyone wants to be the killer. And that makes it a little bit more difficult for you to obtain some of the Kira-based trophies, because you're constantly sitting there hoping that RNG is going to be in your favor and give you one of the two roles. It won't happen a lot, I'm not going to lie to you here. Even when team selection's on, everyone picks one of the two roles for Team Kira. So I can understand why a lot of people do end up boosting this out of frustration of not getting on the team that they want to get on to get the trophies they need. After all, it happened to me. I was stuck for weeks upon weeks that brought me into the new year as to why I could not finish the platinum, because I needed to be on Team Kira and I just couldn't get it. But I was vowing to myself I would not boost the game, I wanted to get it legitimately. And I did. But if you're patient and you actually get on Team Kira, depending on the role you get, you'll have two jobs. If you are Kira, your job is to pretend to be an investigator. You're making people think that you're one of them, and you're doing your very best to not get caught, most importantly. You should not be stealing IDs. That is the job of your accomplice in the game. You'll be going around doing different tasks while also covertly trying to talk to your teammate through the transceiver in-game. The transceiver allows the two of them to communicate without the open mic. However, there is a consequence that if you use the transceiver and you're near one of the random NPCs, they will detect that a transceiver has been used and will have a message on them saying as such. They will not reveal who did it, but they'll say that a transceiver was used during the day or night cycle at that particular location. And that helps the investigators pin down who potentially it could be. So I would very much advise that you're very careful with how you use the transceiver. If at all, some people don't use it in general, or you only use it to let them know when they have IDs and need to pass them off. Now continuing on with Kira, you'll be going around and just pretending to be normal, like I said. You'll be doing fake canvas tasks, assuming that you have that setting on, which you should, because it's only fair for Team Kira, so that they can actually try to look like they're one of you. Some people don't put this on, and I think that's a little bit unfair, because it really does make it hard for Kira to fake doing things, because if they're not getting those canvas tasks, then they can't say, oh, this NPC said so-and-so to me. And it makes it really easy to suss out who you are and what role you're playing, which isn't fair. So if you're playing the game, put on fake canvas tasks for Team Kira, so that at least it can be a fair game all around. But while you're doing these fake tasks and pretending to play the role as Kira, you'll also be trying to get times where you can be on your own to be able to judge criminals. You can do this a number of times each day to get points for your team. You also have the ability to kill the investigators if you have an ID on hand at that time. A lot of the times you will not have the ID, and I will stress again, if you are Kira, you should not be taking IDs, unless, of course, your accomplice has been caught and arrested and is of no more use to you and you're by yourself. At that point, you have no choice but to try take IDs. Ultimately, unless you're going for the New World End trophy to get the full New World progress, your aim is to try and find who L is, get their ID, and execute them swiftly. That will give you an automatic win and end the game immediately, because L is one person, not multiple. No matter how much people try to fake multiple L positions. On the other hand, the accomplice, as I said, his job is to take IDs. Now, he shouldn't be making himself obvious while doing this, as a lot of players do. And I'm guilty of that myself. Some of the footage may show me being plainly obvious, like when I'm taking IDs. And it really does make you sit and think about how you can strategize and do things better. If you've got toggle ID on, you can click on a setting that lets it be that you can run into people without taking their IDs. If you use this strategically enough, you could potentially make sure that you're touching and trying to take the IDs of people who have been in contact with multiple different players, which will be identified by a flying Shinigami that glows purple going over to that person, and they'll be able to identify that that person has been in contact with multiple players, meaning it's a little bit safer to go and take their ID, but because if they've been in contact with multiple people, there'll be multiple suspects and not just you. While also trying to act normal and get those IDs, you are also a backup. If your Kira gets caught somehow, you are able to pass over the death note back and forth, and you yourself can become Kira. This is a way to protect your partner if they've been sussed out. If you're arrested or sussed out by the investigators, if you have either the death note or any IDs on you, then you will get arrested and taken out of the game. Or if you're Kira, it ends the game, obviously. And the strategy is always to make sure that if you're being sussed and you have IDs, get them handed off as quickly as humanly possible. Otherwise, it's game over for you or for your team as a whole. On the other side of things, Team L works very simply. Team L consists of L himself, and you are able to essentially be the secret detective. A lot of the times, L does not do tasks, and that is the way you should be doing things. If you're running in and doing the tasks and making yourself in the open, then you are opening your ID to being taken. You should be trying to stick around other players that you know you can trust, while also trying to suss out who Kira and his accomplice is. As part of Team L and being L himself, you are able to look at the various security cameras that are located in any of the rooms. Using these, you're able to potentially take a peek into the room if someone's been lingering there too long, and you can potentially see a crime being committed or a mistake being made by Team Kira. As it does happen a lot, people have walked into the rooms with the cameras and they just pass IDs over or just whip out the death note. It is such a stupid move, and you should never do that unless you are confident you have L's ID, because you are just giving yourself up right there and then, unless it's an incompetent L.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
Because a lot of people don't even use the cameras, and that just makes them useless to the overall team. You're also responsible for setting up various L tasks. These can consist of things such as vindicating someone, which is very important to the overall flow of the game. If you can vindicate one of the other investigators, you are showing everyone in the game this is a proven known investigator. They can be trusted. If anyone dies, you can go to them and let them know any information. And more importantly, L knows that they can trust them as well, and it takes one person off the overall list as to who could be Kira or the accomplice. Use this very strategically though. Everyone runs for this like their life depends on it. I know you want to be safe and you want to be proven as trustworthy, but you are also painting a very massive red target on their back. They want them dead as soon as humanly possible, because they don't want any trusted sources in there so that they can try and turn everybody against each other. So it's a double-edged sword sort of thing. Additionally, your biggest responsibility as L is in the after-team meetings. You have the power to be able to do in-game commands to say that you want to hear from certain people. You think certain people are suspicious. You want to know certain information. You want to know where they were at a certain time, etc., etc. Obviously, you should never tell anybody that you're L, even if you trust them, because it's open mic. If someone's close enough, they will hear you, and then you're as good as dead if that is someone from Team Kira. Now, the investigators, their job is very simple. Do investigations and try to win as fast as humanly possible, and find Kira if possible. If you have your ID, you are fundamentally important to the game. You can't be killed off just yet, and you are able to help the overall team in terms of sussing out who the killers are. If you lose your ID, you are unfortunately a sacrificial pawn at this point. You can and you will die. It's only a matter of time. If you aren't killed off, you are likely being used as a sacrificial pawn and a scapegoat by Team Kira, making people think that you are one of the accomplices, which is a very strategic way to play the game, but also very dirty when you think about it. That's the roles and responsibilities of the characters in the game, and there are supposed to be some new ones getting added as part of the next big update coming at some stage this year. I don't know what they fully are, but I'm looking forward to jumping in and playing it and experiencing new ways to play the game when that comes out, even if no new trophies get added in to the overall spin of things. But also, the maps have different ways of the game being played. The base map, which is out in the open street and stuff like that, allows you to get some iconic kills, such as the truck kill, having people have a heart attack, or walking off into the distance where things I will not detail happen to you. This map seems to be the favored map for everyone to play because there's no strict advantage to any one team. You're able to go around and play the game as you wish, be that aggressively or passively, or just a bit of a mixture where you're openly trying to find out who they are by taking risks, or if you're on Team Kira, taking risks, getting the IDs if you have even a little bit of suspicion who L is, and trying to get them killed off as quickly as humanly possible. The map is also nice and compact to where it's nice, just you can follow it around and you can strategize between your teammates if you can trust them, that is. On the flip side, Toy Town again has a lot more iconic kills, such as the Ray Penber kill on the train. The first time I saw that, oh my god, I was in heaven, because it was like, oh, it's just so great to see that included in the game, because it's such an iconic scene from the show. But more importantly, this map definitely favors Team Kira. A lot of people say it's even, but it definitely favors Team Kira. There's one room in the middle of the map called Misa's room, which is encapsulated in pitch black darkness, a new fundamental way to the game. When you walk into the room, you can't see who's in there. You'll know someone's in there if they're in the room, as like a white silhouette appears. But you'll not know who it is, what their name is, or what they're doing. Kira tends to camp out in this room and will take IDs very easily and start killing people off. It is definitely a map that favors Team Kira, because there's so many ways that Misa's room can be used to get IDs swiftly and also make people suspect everyone, because tasks are constantly being put in to that room, whether it be to talk to an NPC to get information, which then adds you as a suspect, because the rule of thumb is if you walk into the Misa room, you're a suspect. I hate that way that map works because of that. But you can set up a camera in there, but it's almost a death trap, because as soon as that task comes up, everyone beelines, even Team Kira, to try to take those cameras to make sure that one can't be set up in Misa's room, because that takes away their one sanctuary of defense against everybody else. There's a couple of other nice little areas in the game where you can hide as well, and there's a little fun feature of the moving train. There's 2 train stations in the game, and you can jump on the train to travel back and forth between the 2 sides of the map in a much quicker fashion. You can also use the deathnote to cause some accidents to happen with the NPCs, making some headlamps fall off and cut off areas of the game. Not completely, mind you, but it forces you to have to maneuver around using either the train or forcing you to go through Misa's room. So again, I can't stress this enough, that map favors Team Kira big time. But I don't care about that, because sometimes it feels like Team Kira needs a little bit of an advantage, a little bit of a head start on being able to get things done. Because the longer you play this game, you will play the investigator role and part of Team L a lot more than you'll ever get to play as Team Kira. You'll start to be able to see the trends, you'll start to get new skills, and you'll start to overall get better at the game, and you'll get very good at sussing out who could be suspicious, who's not acting in a way that they should be, and overall, you'll be able to find who Kira and their accomplice is a lot easier than you may think, which is why I keep saying this game really doesn't need boosting. The more you play it, the better you get, and the better you get, easier these trophies are. Another really important feature to the game that I haven't mentioned yet is the ability to change the server you're in. Obviously, in a lot of these games, there's various servers. There's the EU servers, the American servers, things like that. In this game, you are able to freely jump between those servers. So if you are in the UK and you're playing the game throughout the day, which I did a lot, it would come to a certain point of the day where you're hitting like 9 PM afterwards, where people are going off to bed and they're not really playing. And then the lobbies end up being dead. This always results in games dying off much faster than they should. But what this game allows you to do is you can just jump from the EU server over to any of the American servers. This enables the game to have new forms of life where it doesn't matter where you're located, you can play the game. And if you're worrying that being in various servers around the world might make you disconnect a lot, I have never experienced it on my side, so I can confidently say you'll be able to play the game, have a lot of fun, and not need to worry about getting disconnected constantly while playing the game. So hopefully that takes away some of your worries. And honestly, it's a very big thing about the game, multiplayer wise. I wish we would see more in games, the ability to just freely jump servers and not need to worry about any sort of delay or drop in connection. So I've spoken about the fundamentals of the game, how it works, the different roles, and some of the features of the game. Now I just talk about my overall experience and what I thought of the game and how much fun I had with it. As I literally just said, it was so fun. I did not think I was going to enjoy this game as much as I did. I did not like Among Us. It was what it was. It was a little bit of fun for the little bit of time I played it. I got the platinum and I've had no desire to go back. I haven't even went back to do the 100% DLC. Will I do that someday? Maybe. But honestly, I don't know if I will. I just don't enjoy the game at all. But this game was just a completely different level. But because I enjoy Death Note so much, when the game came out, it already told me that I'm going to play this game a lot more than I played Among Us. But when I saw the similar style, I was a little bit trepidatious about, am I going to spend a lot of time with this? Is this going to be something I boost to get the platinum? Or am I going to have fun? At the start, it was definitely difficult. Jumping into various lobbies with different people. It's an online game. You know exactly what I'm about to say. The struggles of the online games is open mics. This game, you fundamentally need microphones, because the feature that I didn't mention is if you don't have a mic, people will not want to play with you, for one thing. And secondly, a mic is almost needed for this, because inside the game, it's open mic the entire time, which is a little bit different from the way I believe Among Us worked, because I think you didn't have open mic until you got to the meetings, but I digress. Because of that open mic, you're able to talk with each other as the game's progressing, saying whether you've done your tasks, if you saw something suspicious, and if somebody died. Because again, another feature I forgot to mention, as the investigators, you are able to mark down in the notebook whether or not you have suspicions on someone, or if you think that they are a dodgy person at all in the game. And if you die, this book becomes available to pick up for other players. So if somebody dies and you manage to get their dying message, you're able to call out there and then, hey, so-and-so Joe Bloggs has died. He has said that Nancy Drew is suspicious, or that Ethan Prescott is suspicious. So those are two people then that they can silo down on the case of they've died. They're the only two names in the book. These are people that we should be watching. So having a microphone is pretty much a necessity. You can play without it, but if you are in a lobby with people with mics, they are likely to kick you out. Or if they don't have enough people to play the game, or too many people to play the game even, you're probably going to be the first ones that they kick out. So yeah, there's that. But because of the open mic, you get the horrible idiots who are just sitting on there, just shouting random nonsense, who are just blaring music down it, who are just saying things that they really shouldn't be saying over an open mic channel, because there are younger audiences that play the game. You will be playing with a lot of people that have things to say that you might not want to hear, which makes the lobbies very difficult to jump in at the start, as it was for me. Especially when you had a lot of day one people that were tryhards that would get very aggressive towards you if you played poorly in the game, or if you weren't performing to their standards. Now this probably, me saying this is making you lean more towards boosting the game, or even leaving the game, but one moment and listen to me. If you can find friends, which is honestly surprisingly easy on the game, then you can have a great time. I met a lot of people on the game, and some of the footage on screen, actually quite a bit of the footage, is probably me playing with those guys. Like, we had such great times. I met I think at least 3 different groups of people that had a couple people in each of them, and we would go in and we'd continuously play together. We'd have laughs, we'd have good times, bad times. Sometimes we'd get angry at each other if someone did a better play than the other, but it was all in good banter and all in good times. And we just constantly wanted to play with each other, even if there were other people in the lobby, and sometimes we'd end up kicking out randoms just so that we could get one of our friends secured in the game. Now you would think that this would lead the people to just boosting out the trophies, but no, a lot of the times I forgot the trophies even existed, and I was just having fun playing the game, be it as an investigator or be it as Kira. And I got slightly better at the game while playing with these people, especially some of my friends like Vante and Elzag. We were able to sit and share tips and tricks with each other. They would always play with each other from the get-go of the game, and were friends probably before Death Note was even released. And they got very good at the game and very talented in both of the roles. They were able to spot some of the bad plays I was making and able to tell me ways I could improve upon it, ways I could act a little bit differently, to make my Kira games last a little bit longer and to suss people out in a more strategic way when it comes to being an investigator. And sometimes that is the best kind of fun you can have with the game. So honestly, I want to take a quick moment to just say thank you to all the people that I met along the way playing Death Note, and hopefully we'll have plenty more adventures inside the game and play more fun times. Who knows, maybe we'll meet each other on other games as well. You never know. I know there was talks of Phasmophobia, but whether or not that will happen, who knows. But honestly, thank you guys for making the game and the experience a fantastic time. And honestly, it was great meeting you all.
It was me all along! No, the funny thing is, Zach was such a deceiving little shit. He was Kira the whole time.
So like I said, you can meet friends that honestly you might still keep in contact with post the game's completion. So you don't really need to go in and boost the game, and you can have a lot of fun and make some happy and fun memories. I lost track of the amount of times that we actually stayed up till like 2, 3 in the morning playing Death Note, and I'd be like, what am I doing? I'm just sitting here playing this game. It's like I don't even play some of my RPGs for as long as I'm playing this game, which made me very surprised about how much I was enjoying it. Because early on in the game, I was deciding on, do I want to do this legitimately and just play the game to completion? Or do I just want to boost this out and get it done and over with? Hence, I came up with the question of play it, boost it, leave it. 3 options that were stood before me, and I of course chose to play it. Hopefully you guys, by listening to this, are sitting thinking on whether or not you can enjoy the game. And hey, if any of you want to play it and you are already on my friends list, I don't mind jumping in and playing a couple of games with you guys. That's the important thing about games and trophy hunting in general. Trophy hunting makes a lot of people just decide to leave games as soon as they've got the platinum trophy or the 100%, and they just delete them and they never touch them again. I try to make a conscious effort to go back and play games even after the platinum, especially if I really enjoyed them. So Death Note is a game I will still continue to play, maybe not as much as I did these last couple of months, because I do have other games I want to play like Metaphor Refantasia, but I still will jump in and play it and have fun with my friends or even with some new players if there's new people. And I'm always willing to give out tips on how you can get better and how you can do trophies. If you're going to ask me to boost with you though, I'm probably not going to do that, because obviously, as I've made perfectly clear here, I think that this game should be done legitimately. It's not hard enough that you need to do it. PSNP has it labeled as a 2 out of 10 with about 15 to 20 hours. As you probably may have seen on my screen, at some point, I've spent 125 hours in the game, but like I said, I had a lot of fun playing it. That should kind of speak for itself.
You serious?
If I wanted to boost it, there was plenty of lobbies out there I could have joined, plenty of trophy hunters out there doing the exact same thing. It could have very easily been done, but I had fun, and that's the most important thing. So that's it. That's my experience with Death Note Killer Within. I had a lot of fun with it, and if I had to rate this game, I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10 for the kind of game it is. I know a lot of people are sitting there going, what? 7 out of 10 for an online only game like this? I judge each game by what it is. I don't put every game on the same pedestal as the other. I wouldn't put this game on the same pedestal as I would an RPG game like Persona or Metaphor Fantasio. They're different games fundamentally and different experiences. And for this kind of game, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. I do think that you could have a lot of fun playing it, especially if you bring some friends into it with you or meet some new friends along the way. Honestly, I do hope that you give the game a try, and I hope that you lean more towards playing the game rather than boosting it or leaving it. But hey, if you decide one of the other two, I'm not going to judge you at the end of the day. It is what it is. I'm me, you're you, we're all different, we all game different, we all trophy hunt different. Let me know down in the comment section down below if you've played this game, if you enjoyed this game, and which of the 3 options you took with it. And if you're a fan of anime, let me know if you've watched the Death Note anime, and if not, why? Maybe give it a watch, have a good time with it. All hail our Lord and Savior, that is Kira! He will lead us into the new world, where gods of death eat apples every single day. But that's this video, guys. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't already done so, and join me for the next video or live stream whenever it comes live. I'll see you guys next time. Crimson Purgatory, out.